Assalamu alaikum students and welcome to the new lecture related to 18th and 19th century novel. The first novel of this course is Joseph Andrews written by Henry Fielding. Today's lecture is mainly concerned with the introduction related to our writer Henry Fielding, and his time period is from 1707 to 1754. Henry Fielding is an English novelist, and he was entitled as Father of English Novel just because of his greater contribution and pivotal role which he played for making this particular genre the intensive one as well as the most significant one. He ventured in the fields of drama, poetry, journalism, law, essay writing, but ultimately he came towards novel. And 18th century was the age of novel. So Fielding ventured in this particular field with enthusiasm as well as with his eager heart. He got fame in comedy, farce, ballet, burlesque, and he also used adaptations from the French. You may say from the French literature or from the life of the French people, the rulers. Although he tried his level best to write about all these different genres like comedy, farce, ballet, burlesque, even then he ultimately tried to write novel, and Joseph Andrews is one of his masterpieces which he created. Now, something about 18th century. What are the specialities or characteristics of 18th century which made this particular age as the age of novel? In 1702, Queen Anne ascends the throne and she died in 1714. After her death, King George I, who was 54 years a German person, and he was completely ignorant of English language as well as politics. It doesn't mean that he was unable to rule his country, but being a German person, he was unable to rule that country in the way as any political leader must try to use all the political tactics or strategies. The main factor which he was lacking, that was the ignorance about English language, because he was very much expert in his own language, that was German, and the main hurdle in his communication was just because of the English language. So he placed the government entirely in the hands of the Whig party, which was very famous at that time. Whig party established cabinet system and Robert Walpole became first prime minister of UK. So in 1714, with the rule of King George I, first time with the help of and contributive rule of Whig party, cabinet system came into being, and Robert Walpole became the first prime minister of UK. During that reign and the parliamentary system, civil wars also erupted, and there was a dire need of peace. So Walpole kept UK away from foreign wars, because it was very difficult for the first prime minister to keep peace or to launch peace in his country just because of civil wars. And when the country is fighting in civil wars, it was very difficult to face any foreign war. So he kept away his country from foreign wars. He followed the policy of tolerance, and in this century, English people learned how to tolerate other people or other nations in the world. UK flourished in different fields of life like trade, agriculture, and it became wealthy just because of having or observing peace in the country, because wars all the time weak the country. So when there was a peace in England or in UK, it made it a strong country so far as economy or finances of the country were concerned. A famous critic, G.M. Trevelyan, said, "The first 40 years of 18th century, the reign of Queen Anne and the rule of Walpole constitute an age of transition during which the feuds and ideals of the Stuart era, literally a lava flood securing the land with devastating heat, were being channeled and congealed into fixed, durable Hanoverian forms. Means when there was peace, 18th century was considered to be the age of transition. There was a change which came into the lives of all the people of UK, and they tried their level best to make their country the flourishing one or the prosperous one. There were lots of troubles which Mr. Walpole, the first prime minister, had to face, like industrial revolution, French revolution, and religious fanaticism, aristocracy and liberty, absence of reforms, and finally, all these things generated industrial decay. Because with the help of these revolutions and then the fanaticism or religious extremism, people were completely becoming ignorant towards industries and their development. And finally, they went towards the decay. There was a growth of humanitarian and philanthropic feeling and endeavor to have a sort of brotherhood throughout the country to tolerate the people, because love was considered to be the main factor so far as the private lives of the people were concerned, whereas tolerance was the passion which needed so far as the public life of people was concerned. Creative vigor in all the trades and arts that serve and adorn the life of man. It was also the idea of G.M. Trevelyan, which he gave in the form of the critical evaluation of 18th century and the typical role of Walpole, that there was a sort of importance of vigor in all sorts of trades and arts. That's why people's life became adorned as well as decorated one. The absurdities of London life and manners, of plays in the grand style, and of contemporary politics all engaged him. Another difficulty which the first Prime Minister Walpole faced, that was the absurdity of London life and manners, that people were not at all having any sort of attraction so far as their life was concerned, and they felt that the life has become absurd. There is no aim and purpose in their life. And sorry, contemporary politics all the time got engaged that particular prime minister. As I told you earlier, that due to civil wars, he had to engage in his own country for the solution of the conflicts among the people. 18th century was considered to be an age of prose so far as art and literature was concerned, and Fielding, like Defoe, Daniel Defoe, another famous novelist, Fielding rejected the fantastic conventions of the romance and adopted the manner and tone of actual biography. Fielding was very much in the favor of realism, because he wanted to express all the ideas that depict the life of London as well as the whole UK, as he was himself experiencing the life. So, whatever the things or the activities which were going on in those days in London, Fielding tried his level best to depict all that particular scenario. Fielding adopted a fresh and realistic moral approach which admits occasionally of animalistic, a searching realism, and has delight in physical beauty, specifically a female beauty, and hence titled him a masculine writer. Being a masculine writer or being a male, he all the time tried to present realistic moral approach towards life, and most of the time he highlighted the animal behavior of human beings, or the animal activities which are the spirits which human beings have. Fielding is considered to be a master plot builder. So far as his novels are concerned, there is a complete panorama of life and large variety of characters are being introduced. That's why he is entitled as master plot builder. His plots have an architectonic quality and coherent structure. There is a proper beginning, proper middle, and proper end so far as the structure of his plots or novels are concerned. As well as there is really an architect quality, that all the things, all the ideas which have been highlighted, whether in the form of flashbacks, flash forwards, or the complete realism or continuity in the streamline of life, all these things are completely coherent, all these things are completely adjacent to each other. He constructs his plots on principles of dramatic action. Sometimes the critics found that his plots are based on some dramatic action. It looks as if there is some action which is going to play in front of the eyes of the viewers as well as the readers. Covering, another critic said Fielding is breezy, bustling, and energetic in his narrative, shows life on highway, in cottage, and among the streets of London. Taking up Fielding after Richardson is like emerging from the sick room to the open lawn. Richardson is also one of the best novelists of his time. So, according to this critic covering, he evaluated Fielding in a way as he was expert in communicating about all walks of life. He was able, means Fielding was able to present the life of human beings from every strata of life, from every group of people. Their thinkings, their ideas, and their actions have been highlighted by Fielding in his novels. Another critic, Allen, evaluated in a way the main tradition of English novel until second half of the 19th century derives from Fielding, as he was an innovator, because for the first time he presented novels in the form of realistic approach. Before him there was romance, fantasy, and all fantastic ideas have been highlighted. What are the gifts to English novel which 20th century uh, or the end of 19th century gave to this particular genre? And specifically, we can say that Fielding gave following gifts to English novel. For example, new kind of plot. Before him, there was a traditional plot for the novels, and there was not at all any remarkable effort done so far as the field of novel was concerned, because before novel's age there was an age of drama in Queen Elizabeth time, and Elizabethan drama was at the peak. And we can say that the writers of that time, they were only concerned with dramatic plot and action. New kind of story, when Fielding writes about the people's life of highway and the byways, it means that there is a new kind of story. Because before progress in the field of novel, Shakespeare and many other writers like Marlowe and others, they tried to write about the high ups, nobility, as well as kings and queens or royal families. Now the story was related to the common people of everyday life. New kind of characters, all the characters from all walks of life have been highlighted by Fielding. And then new kind of morality. It does not mean that there was not at all morality in Fielding's novels, or he was writing immoral things. No, not at all. He was completely writing about morality, but he tried to expose all the hidden and bad ideas of human beings, or bad passions which were flourishing in their bosom, but they didn't try to highlight. For the first time in English novel, this type of morality was given, that from uh, voices we can also create a sort of morality. Every behavior, every action in life is based on morality. New kind of philosophy was also given in the form of novel. Then style and dignity was also created, that all the human beings are created with some dignity, and every character and actor has a dignity in it. So it's up to the readers to dig it out in a good way. What are the chief characteristics and trends of 18th century novel? Morality and teaching, that novels are not only for the sensuous delight, they are not only for the presentation of life as life it is, but it is based on some sort of morality as well as teaching. That after reading the novel, the readers must be able to learn something uh, constructive about life. Then realism, solid and plausible things must be highlighted, which are based on some reasonable and probable approach towards life. Satire and reformation, if something is not going to be eradicated directly, then writers of novel and like Fielding, they try to get support with the help of this literary device, that is satire. And satirically he presented the weaknesses of human beings just in the form of reforming the society. So the novel was based on some sort of reformation. More stress on characterization and less on story, means the highlighting of characters from one strata of life, and then their progress, whether they are poor, thieves, dacoits, immoral persons, and there must be some sort of progress and development as well as renovation in that character. So this art of characterization was more stressful as compared to story. Introduction of picaresque method, the hero before Fielding was considered to be the person who was free of any sort of vices. But for the first time in novel, uh, Fielding tried to introduce picaresque method, that the hero can also be from lower strata of life, hero can also be a dacoit or a robber, and then there must be some sort of development. A hero can be a rogue, hero can be a common personality, but as he is the protagonist, so the main focus of the writer must be on his personality. Then there must be some rise of women fiction writers or novelists, which 18th century found. We can say and we can quote the name of Jane Austen, who also ventured in the end of the 18th century and the start of 19th century. The last characteristic of 18th century novel is psychological novel. That novel must be based on some psychological development, as well as the psychological issues must be highlighted or handled by the writer as in the form of a psychologist. And the readers must be able to read the conflicts, problems, and challenges which are faced by the characters. After reading this sort of novel, the readers must be able to learn many new vistas of life, which will create some sort of attraction, as well as give them the real picture towards life. This was all about the first half of Fielding's introduction. Thank you very much for being with me.